And we're live. It's episode 4 of Plays and Parlays. I'm Joe Serralo. That's Jarrett Bailey. We're coming off mediocre weeks. Each went 3-3, but we drilled our extra points. Both had the Rams over the Bucks money line. Jarrett, how do you like this week 4 slate?
I mean, the lines are interesting this week. There's not a lot that I really liked, but I found enough that I like. So, there's a lot of heavy favorites, some that I wouldn't consider that heavy. So, I mean, I bet a lot of teams to cover that were underdogs. So, yeah, it's an interesting week for lines. I will say that.
Yeah, and I think that's the trend that we're noticing right here is that underdogs, that's where the success has been so far. I mean, I think the worst week for dogs has been 9-7 against the numbers so far. So if you take dogs, you're going to be profitable. Before we get into our first pick, before I get into my first pick, the Super Bowl 56 halftime show just announced for LA this February. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick. Jarrett, how do you like that lineup?
I mean, I'm not that big of a rap guy, but I do like Eminem. So I'll watch it for Eminem. That's about it. Call me when they get Amity Affliction to do the halftime show, and then I'll be interested.
Can I just say that was like the whitest dude from Pennsylvania thing that you could have. Like,
absolutely.
Dr. Dre's going to be out there, Snoop's going to be out there, and you're just like, yeah, Eminem. Awesome.
Dude, if I never see Snoop Dogg again, I'll be satisfied.
I don't know how you...
Nothing against Snoop Dogg. Like, he seems like the most chill human being alive. I'm just tired of seeing him in every commercial, every ad. Everything has Snoop Dogg in it, so I'm just kind of over it at this point. But
I love it.
Yeah, I'm just not the biggest rap music fan. So yeah, whenever if Motionless in White or Dayseeker or Rob Zombie ever do the Super Bowl halftime show, I'll be ecstatic.
Well, I love the lineup, but I love my picks this week a little more. Jarrett, you want to get into my first pick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Don't overthink this one. All right, we're going to start with my lock of the week here. My first pick is my play of the week. It's the Tennessee Titans -7 at the Jets. You're talking about a Jets offense here that has averaged under a touchdown per game. Look, Tennessee's defense leaves a lot to be desired, but they are quite literally going to steamroll the Jets. They are quite literally going to run over the Jets this Sunday. Forget the spread. I mean, I've got them in teasers. I've got them -7. I would take them -17. I mean, Tennessee, I see winning this one about 35-10.
The thing with this one is, I mean, they could be without A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, so it could be a very Derrick Henry dependent day. So that's why I kind of stayed away from it. I mean, and because my love and admiration for Zach Wilson runs true. But no, I understand. I do understand the pick. The Jets are the Jets right now, man. Like, it doesn't look good. Offensively, they haven't been able to protect Zach Wilson. They haven't been able to get into any sort of flow. They haven't had a touchdown, I don't think, in the last 2 games. They only put up 6 against the Patriots, got shut out by Denver. So yeah, the offense is struggling. So I don't blame you for making the pick. We'll see what happens with Tennessee's receivers, though, in the meantime. So my first pick, Indianapolis +2 at Miami. The Colts are in desperation mode right now. And I think they're better than what their record shows. They very well could have and should have beaten the Rams. They put up a solid fight against Seattle. I think that score is a little bit more lopsided than the game really was. So look, the Dolphins right now are a bad football team. I don't believe in Jacoby Brissett. Yes, they got into an early lead against Vegas. You know, they came back, sent it to overtime and whatnot. I'm not a believer in Miami whatsoever. Outside of their secondary, their defense leaves a lot to be desired. And the Colts, they need a win in the worst way right now to kind of keep pace in the AFC South. So Indianapolis +2, we'll get to more on this game later from me, but +2, probably my favorite line of the week, honestly. I feel this is the game I feel most confident about in terms of my spread. Again, we'll get into more of it later, but I do feel confident in Indianapolis this week.
You know, I'll agree with you that the Colts are better than their 0-3 record indicates. They unfortunately just have the toughest first half schedule in football this year. But I have to say, out of Tua, out of Carson, out of Jacob Eason, you name any quarterback healthy or inactive on either one of these two teams, Jacoby Brissett at this point in time might actually be the most talented. I think Miami -2 is an easy line to hit. I stayed away from it. It's not one of my picks today, but I'm really fading you hard on this one. I actually like the Dolphins -2. If Carson Wentz, who has 2 sprained ankles, by the way, that's as many sprained ankles as any human being can physically have, 2 of them. If Carson Wentz ends up being out in this one, look for this line to go Miami -3.5, -4.
All right, let's hop into your second one.
Let's do it. Now, this is a game that I was a little iffy about. I think, truthfully, I'll give you 2 picks here. The easy one is the over 51.5, because this is going to be a shootout between the Vikings and the Cleveland Browns. 2 run-heavy teams that score a ton of points, because they're 2 run-heavy teams that also have talented quarterbacks and have insanely talented wide receiving cores. I'm going with the Vikings plus the points here at home. I think Minnesota is going to win this game outright, and I would say by a score of 34 or 35 to 31. It's going to be a fun game. Dalvin Cook is back, and Dalvin Cook, for me, is the decision maker. It's why I'm taking the Vikings +2.
You know, the Vikings and the Titans are very similar teams to me, where their defenses leave a lot to be desired, but they're going to put up points. The thing that worries me about that is that you can't really win games 40 to 38 on a consistent basis in the NFL. So this is going to be a fun game. I am looking forward to it. It's one I didn't touch because I really don't know which way to lean here. But Minnesota looked good last week. Offensively, they've looked really good all season. Kirk Cousins has played really well. He doesn't have an interception yet. He's playing amongst the best quarterbacks in football right now. So I do like the pick. I like the reasoning for it, and I'm excited to see it. My second pick, I'm going to go with your Giants +7 against the Saints. Look, New Orleans, I feel like everybody's falling for this weird trap with New Orleans. Like, their defense has played well against, they put up that stunner in week 1, sure. But then week 2, we saw the Jameis Winston that I know and love, putting the ball in his left hand, throwing it off his offensive lineman's face. And then last week, the defense just tortured Mac Jones. So, aside from a week 1 kind of albatross to a week 2 performance that was less than stellar to a week 3 performance against a rookie quarterback who doesn't throw the ball downfield, I think the Giants overall, they're much more talented offensively. Their defense it's been somewhat inconsistent. Still got a lot of talent on that side of the ball as well. I think at the very least they can cover here. Wouldn't shock me if they won outright.
A win here, as a Giant fan who just witnessed that awful game against Atlanta, a win here would really shock me. A cover wouldn't. It's a game I'm staying away from. Obviously rooting for my Giants in this one, but have zero faith in the offensive line, have zero faith in Jason Garrett and his play calling. It's just, this is a Giants team that, you can argue they should be 2-1. They had Washington on Thursday night, and they were talent-wise a superior team to Atlanta, but yet here they are again. Last year they went 6-10, and you could easily have seen that team being 9-7, but it's the story every year, and it comes down to decision-making, and it comes down to guys like Jason Garrett and guys like Dave Gettleman refusing to make any changes to the offensive line. So I've lost all faith. I'm staying away from this game. I thought -3 against the Falcons was an absolute lock, and they made me look like an asshole, so I'm not going to pick them again. Let's get to my third pick. Now, this pick absolutely pains me. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys -4.5 against the Carolina Panthers. Now, this is a tricky one because the Cowboys and Panthers are 2 of just 3 teams in the NFL right now. I'll get to the third team later that are 3-0 against the spread. And for a team that's 3-0 against the number, 4.5 is a bit of a big number. But look at what you're dealing with in this matchup. The Carolina Panthers are without Christian McCaffrey, by far their best offensive weapon, and J.C. Horn, who, Jarrett, you and I both love, the stud rookie cornerback. 2 brutal injuries, and I know they've had a week and a half to prepare for this one, but if you look at that Carolina defense that we love to rave about every week on this show, 10 points per game, that's all they're allowing. Second best scoring defense in football. Look at who they're playing. They played the Jets. They played Houston. I know they looked amazing against the Saints, and I'll give them credit for that one. I think defensively they're a great unit, but they haven't seen anything close to what the Dallas Cowboys can offer. And forget Ezekiel Elliott. I'm talking about Dak Prescott, one of the best quarterbacks in football. And Dallas's defense, with Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator, tops in the NFL in turnover differential and interceptions. Sam Darnold might be seeing ghosts out there. Give me the Cowboys -4.5.
No, I'm a guy who likes Carolina. I picked them to be a playoff team this year. Defensively, I've raved about their defense on this show and every other show I do. So I like them defensively. This is going to be their toughest test thus far by a solid margin, though. So it'll be kind of a little. We'll be able to tell who they really are. But no, Dallas is offensively very good. We know how good Dak is. We know how good the receiving core is. So they just traded for C.J. Henderson to make up for that loss of J.C. Horn. I think that was a remarkable move. And shows how proactive they are and how strongly they feel about this team. So it's one that I didn't touch just because I would probably be betting with my heart because I'm a big Panthers guy. But it would not shock me really regardless either way. Like if Dallas just goes out and balls, like we know how good they are offensively, but if Carolina's defense slows them down a little bit, that wouldn't necessarily shock me either. So it's one of the games I'm looking forward to most this weekend as a Panthers truther. So it'll be fun to watch. And as a guy who's becoming a very big Dak fan, I'll be excited on both sides. The next one, speaking of the Cowboys, the team that they demolished on Monday Night Football, I will take the Chiefs -7 against Philadelphia. So there's bad news and worse news for the Eagles. The bad news is Jalen Hurts played horrible. The worst news is they're playing a pissed-off Chiefs team who's lost 2 in a row, and Patrick Mahomes is going to look to get his against the Eagles defense that isn't that great. So that's the thing here. Now, Kansas City's defense isn't great either. I mean, we saw how bad they were against the run, specifically against Baltimore. Justin Herbert played really well against them as well. So their defense is a definite weak point. That said, you know how I feel about Jalen Hurts. I gave him his props after week 1. He played somewhat well against the 49ers, and then the real Jalen Hurts stood up against the Cowboys. Eminem reference. Did you like that? I snuck it in there. So Kansas City is going to be playing as pissed off as they have in the Patrick Mahomes era. I think it's going to be a bloodbath. We're going to witness a public murder in Philadelphia. So yeah, Kansas City -7. I feel pretty good about that.
I feel pretty good about it too, but I'm staying away. Now, there will be more on the Chiefs later. I love them in a teaser -7, but I loved them in a teaser last week against the Chargers -6.5. All they had to do was win the game. Couldn't do it. The fact of the matter, Jarrett, is that they're 0-3 against the number this year. They're 8-14 against the number going back to the beginning of last season. The Chiefs have an awful defense. And what we've seen the past 2 years is that their defense got better as the season progressed and gelled and helped them make a run at least to the Super Bowl in each of those seasons. But the defense this year looks the worst it's looked. Their offensive line, it's better than the one we saw in the Super Bowl, but it's still not there. The fact that Mitchell Schwartz is not on this team, Von Miller said it with Colin Cowherd just today, it's shocking. So the Chiefs have a lot of question marks, and while the Josh Gordon signing is a great one, it's another weapon for Patrick Mahomes, it's not going to fix their woes.
I don't care about Josh Gordon. I'm tired of hearing about Josh Gordon. Let's move on to your pick.
My pick, my fourth pick. I'm going with the Ravens plus a point, essentially a pick 'em. I think they're going to win it out in Denver. Now, the key to this game is going to be ball protection. That's exactly what it's going to come down to. Can Lamar not fumble? Can Lamar not throw it to the Broncos? Because on paper, I know Denver's 3-0. I know Baltimore's 2-1, should be 1-2. On paper, the Ravens are a far superior team here. If you look at who the Broncos have played this year, no disrespect to Teddy and company, they've played the 3 worst teams in football, the Giants, the Jets, the Jaguars. The Denver Broncos are not one of the premier elite teams in the NFL, and I think Baltimore is going to bring them back down to earth. Ironically, Teddy Bridgewater, he's one of the best covering quarterbacks in the league, best in NFL history on the road. Look at him last year in Carolina, 7-1 against the number on the road, just 2-6 at home. It's not so much about covering in this one with a tight spread like this. It's about winning, and I don't think he can do it. All Baltimore has to do is get to midfield and let Justin Tucker kick 67-yarders up in that altitude all day, and they can win the game with a score on every possession. So give me the Ravens +1.
Well, I'll respond to you with my fourth pick because I've got Denver -1 against Baltimore.
Let's do it.
I'm going to disagree with you in one sense. I do not think whatsoever Baltimore's the better team than Denver. I think you look at top to bottom roster, Denver has much more talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They did lose KJ Hamler, which hurts. But offensively, I mean, they still got weapons all over the field. Teddy's playing incredibly well right now. And look, you already said, I mean, they've played bad teams. They can't pick who they've played. So I will say, I don't think Lamar's going to protect the ball against this defense. I think they're going to be swarming the field all over the place. And I think that's really what's going to be the difference. You touched on it already. Can Lamar protect the ball? I think that Denver's going to have a few takeaways. I think that their offense is going to take advantage of that. Do I think that Denver is an elite team? No. Do I think they're a really good team and going to be in the playoffs? Yes. Denver -1 to move to 4-0 against Baltimore. I'm excited for this one. Very excited. So it'll be a fun watch.
Just remember this, in terms of flipping the field, Baltimore has to get to the Broncos' 45-yard line, realistically, every possession to have an opportunity to put points on the board. Just the Broncos' 45, and then you're setting up Tucker for a 62-yarder in that altitude. That's a realistic goal for Baltimore. If you can just get to the 45-yard line, say they start in their own 25, move the ball 30 yards, and you're in scoring position. That, I think, is going to come down. If this is a close one, that could be what it comes down to.
I don't think that they're going to consistently, if it's the first quarter, they're not just going to jog Justin Tucker out there for a casual 64-yard field goal, I think they would punt in that situation. I think, look, Justin Tucker's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, and the kick is absurd. I don't think that's going to become a casual thing where we just see him trot out there and expect to make 60-yarders like they're 40-yarders.
In Denver is a totally different story, though. Three of the four, prior to Justin Tucker's kick, 3 of the 4 longest in NFL history happened in Denver.
Sure. And if it's a situation like at the end of halftime or if they need another game winner, then sure, I believe in him to get the job done. But I don't think, especially if it's like close and like the third quarter, let's say it's like tied at 13 and field position battle has been like key in the game, I don't think that they're just going to trot him out there and give Denver a short field should he miss it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's get to my 5th pick. It's the Green Bay Packers at home covering against Jarrett's Steelers. Is this 4 straight weeks? I'm betting against the Steelers.
You've bet against them 4 straight weeks, yes.
This is 4 straight weeks. Here's why. Since each team had a fluke outcome week 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers have come back down to earth and then some. Their defense, which is supposed to be the strong suit of this team, it's not your father's Pittsburgh Steelers defense. They stink. They're allowing 25 points per game in the last 2 contests. And after the Packers laid an egg week 1 against New Orleans in Jacksonville, they're averaging 32.5 points per game. Green Bay at home since the beginning of the 2019 season, the best team against the number in football, 13-7 against the number at Lambeau in that time frame. I don't think this one's going to be close. I think we're looking at a 10 to 14 point Packer win. The Pittsburgh Steelers can't move the ball on offense. They can't stop the ball on defense. It's tough to win games with a recipe like that.
Well, I will say this. They've been missing TJ Watt. They've been missing Stephon Tuitt. They were missing Devin Bush and Joe Hayden. Those are their 4 out of their 5 best defensive players that they were missing. So they get Watt back. They get Highsmith back. Their other pass rusher, Hayden's back. Devin Bush is back. So they're getting a lot of guys back on that side of the ball. Everything you said is true about their offense. Would not shock me if they somehow won this game because that just seems to be what the Steelers do each year. They start out like they'll lose games that they shouldn't lose. They'll look horrible, and then they'll be facing a daunting schedule against a really good team and somehow just gut out a win. So, I mean, I don't bet on the Steelers just because I would be betting with my heart, and I'm not doing it. But would not shock me in the slightest if after all the crap I've talked this week in terms of any sort of podcast or articles that I've had to do, I'm tired of talking about how bad their offensive line is. I've done it all season long already. I'm tired of it. They're bad. Would not shock me if they just go into Lambeau, just somehow pull out a win, get to 2-2, face Seattle next week, and this just seems to be what they do each year. It would not shock me if they won this. Obviously, I'm staying away from it as a Steeler fan, but it's one that I could definitely see going either way. Would it shock me if Green Bay won? No, obviously not. But Pittsburgh winning and proving everybody oh my goodness, how did they do that? And that becoming a talking point, it won't shock me whatsoever.
I don't know, Jarrett. Just going off that one last time, it's for me, for Pittsburgh to have any sort of a shot in this one, you're going to have to, at Lambeau Field, hold Aaron Rodgers, hold Devontae Adams, hold Aaron Jones to 17 points. To me, that's the only way Pittsburgh can win is a 20 or 21-17 outcome here. I think the more realistic outcome, Green Bay 27, Pittsburgh 13.
I can agree with that to an extent. So let me get to my 5th pick. I'll stay in the NFC North. I'm going to take Detroit +3 at Chicago. The Bears are also bad. Everything about them. Matt Nagy is probably going to be gone. I would say Matt Nagy will probably be gone before the end of the year. He's just
if he loses this one, if he loses outright, he might be gone right here.
And Dan Orlovsky touched on it as well. You had how many days to think of a game plan for Justin Fields, and that's what you trotted out against Cleveland? I don't know if this is intentional, but whatever. That was horrible, and it's not Justin Fields' fault. But Detroit might be winless. They've looked a lot better than I expected them to look. They look good against Green Bay. They look good against Baltimore. So they're a team that, yes, they're 0-3, but they very well could be 1-2, if not for the Ravens having, a kicker with the leg of Jesus. So I think Detroit wins outright. We're going to touch on that a little bit later. But +3 seems like a gift right now after the way that the Bears have been playing. So Detroit +3 on the road.
I hate that you just said that because we'll get into that in a little bit, but is this going to be 4 straight weeks of having the same exact extra point?
Let me see. We'll see later.
We'll see. Let's get into my 6th pick. It's primetime Sunday Night Football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers you're showing 7. I saw 6.5. Either way, I think the Buccaneers are going to go into Foxborough full steam ahead and absolutely embarrass Bill Belichick, Mac Jones, and company on Sunday night. You have to bet this game the same way you bet the Super Bowl. Take all of the emotion out of it and evaluate it as just a football game. I think the line here is a lot closer than it should be because it's the Belichick versus Brady matchup. Mastermind, best quarterback ever. People want it to come down to the wire. I'm sorry, it's just not going to. This is a game that Tampa Bay is probably going to win by 10 to 14 points. And honestly, 10 would even be closer than I expect. If you look at these two teams, do the Pats have a respectable defense? Absolutely. The Buccaneers have one of the more talented defenses in the league. On offense, it's not even close. You're dealing with a check down 3 to 4 yard pass game manager in Mac Jones against Tom Brady, who's throwing the ball now better than he might have been 5 years ago. I mean, to me, for this game to be within a score, I would be absolutely stunned. I think Tampa Bay is going to go in there, and Belichick might not want to shake Brady's hand at the end of this one.
Yeah. Now, Tampa Bay's secondary hasn't been good, but luckily for them, they don't have to worry about New England going deep. So yeah, the front seven's going to kind of feast, I think, this game. I will say this, though. I won't be surprised if Brady turns the ball over once or twice just because that defense is very good. You know, they're guys who've played with Brady who kind of know, what he's going to do. So I think it'll be close for the first quarter and a half. And then after that, I think Tampa Bay starts pulling away. So I agree with the Tampa Bay -7 pick. My last pick, I'm going to take the Chargers -3.5 against the Raiders Monday Night Football. The Chargers, they were my baby with the AFC coming in this year. I'm very high on the Chargers. In terms of what they did against Kansas City, that was the biggest win of Justin Herbert's young career. This is the biggest win for the Chargers in maybe the last half decade. They needed that. And when you look at how Justin Herbert's playing right now, defensively, they look a lot better than last year. Asante Samuel Jr. looks like a gem that they got. So now Vegas, I mean, they've played well too. They've beaten 3 teams that had 10+ wins last year. I'm not taking anything away from Vegas. This is their toughest test of the year thus far. So I like the Chargers to beat the Raiders and continue this little hot streak they're on.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. I think it comes down to the Chargers defense because both teams can put up points. So if the Chargers defense can stop Derek Carr, who I know it's early, but he's putting up MVP-like numbers through the first 3 weeks of the season, they can really pull away and they can cover here if the defense steps it up. I love this matchup. I think it's going to be fun as hell. I can't wait to watch it. I'm not going to bet it because that 3.5 point number, it could come down to a field goal in this one.
It could. All right, so let's get into the extra points. We'll kick it off with yours.
I'm really afraid we have the same extra point for 4 straight weeks. Hopefully we don't have the same reasoning, but here's why I think the Detroit Lions are going to beat the Bears outright. If you recall, everything I said preseason on my other podcast, Serralo Sports Talk, anything I've said regarding Justin Fields has been sit him the first 3 weeks, probably go 0-3. I was shocked that the Bears were able to beat the Bengals, and then give him this game to make his debut. Let him start at home at Soldier Field against the Detroit Lions so he can build up confidence and win his first professional football game. What did Matt Nagy do? Well, after Andy Dalton got hurt, instead of feeding Nick Foles to the wolves that are the Cleveland Browns pass rush, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, he fed Justin Fields and shattered his confidence in his debut as a starting quarterback. Got sacked 9 times behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Completed just 6 passes on 26 attempts. By the way, Matt Nagy, if you watched Justin Fields at Ohio State, which I'm sure you did, you would know he was most effective running play action. How many times did the Bears run play action with Fields under center? None. Absolutely none. I don't understand the play calling. I mean, Matt Nagy in 2018 seemed to figure it out and come up with a creative playbook for a guy like Trubisky. Had his best year that year, went to the Pro Bowl. All of a sudden, the creativity is gone when you have a more athletic gem named Justin Fields. The Bears are right now embarrassing. And the Lions, if they can put together 4 quarters of football, they've played a great half in each of their 3 games. Second half against San Fran, first half against Green Bay, second half against Baltimore. If they can put it together for maybe not even 4, maybe just 3 quarters, they can win this game because their pass rush is top 10 in the league so far this year. And the Bears' offensive line, dead last statistically. Give me Detroit. I'm shocked, but Dan Campbell biting kneecaps, winning games.
I will echo everything that you said, but we do not have the same extra points because I went with Indianapolis +110 at Miami. Same things I said earlier. Yeah, no, same things I said earlier. I don't believe in Miami. The Colts have their backs against the wall. I think Frank Reich is a really good coach. Defensively, they're also good as well. Indianapolis plus 110 to get their first win of the year where they desperately need it against the Dolphins. That's what I'll go with for my extra point as well. So,
all right. So maybe we can pull ahead. We're both 2-1 with extra points. This is the week where someone will go. We could both lose. But
I was gonna say, or we could both win and stay even. So let's get into our teasers because I know that you're a teaser addict. So we'll bring up yours first. Break down this for us.
Yeah, I am addicted. It's bad. This to me cannot lose. I would be absolutely stunned. I mean, last week I actually ran a 6-team teaser out there. And I tried to get cute. I tried to go Kansas City -1 and bookend it with the Chargers plus 13. Chargers plus 13 was never in doubt. Kansas City couldn't pull out the win. Went 5-1 in a teaser. There's no worse feeling. Same goes for parlays. But this one, I just don't see how it loses. You've got the Titans essentially in a pick'em against the Jets. In my opinion, the worst team in football. The Chiefs essentially in a pick'em against the Eagles, who have really showed their true colors after that shocking week 1 throttling of the Falcons. Packers at home. I guess that's the riskiest one here. Pittsburgh, who knows if their defense decides to just bust through the Green Bay offensive line. Maybe they're out there looking like Swiss cheese in Wisconsin. Jarrett gets the joke. I don't see the Packers losing this game, though. And Tampa Bay, like I said, just so far superior. Take away the Belichick-Brady storyline. Look at it as a football game. The Bucs aren't just going to win. They're going to blow them out. So plus 300. If you want to increase your odds, you could even add Cincinnati -1.5. to this lineup. I think that's a pretty smart lock, but this is my teaser. 4 teams plus 300.
All right, and then my teaser for the week, I'll go Detroit plus 9 against the Bears. We already touched on that a little bit. Same thing with Carolina plus 10.5. I believe in their defense enough to keep it within 11 points. So Carolina plus 10.5. The Giants plus 13. If I like him at plus 7, I'm going to like him at plus 13. So I tease that up as well. And then Kansas City -1. They're, like I said, it's going to be a bloodbath in Philadelphia. So plus 240 there for my teaser. Like I said, Carolina to me, like that game's going to be, I think, the one that could get away. Like if Carolina's defense just kind of falls apart because the Cowboys offense just really goes at them. But everything else, no, I think that Detroit's going to win outright. I think the Giants could very well win outright. I know being a Giants fan, you're going to be, I understand why you're hesitant on that.
I could see the Saints winning this one by 20, especially with their defense.
Yeah, no, it could very much go either way, but I'm confident in the Giants, and maybe I'll live to regret that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, my teaser plus 240.
All right, should we get into my insane parlay this week, Jarrett?
Yes, we should.
Plus 1660 on the odds. I've got the Bengals money line. Joe Burrow getting to play Trevor Lawrence again. Everyone's anointing Trevor Lawrence the second coming of Christ. I think Joe Burrow is the better quarterback. So give me the Bengals. Give me the Titans. I'm not going to tease it. I'm not going to go money line, get fancy here. Just give them to me outright, -7. Give me the Baltimore Ravens money line. It's a +1 game. I'll take a money line. I'll increase the odds slightly. If you're taking a team +1, you think they're going to win. Give me the Packers -3.5. Like I said, I think they win this one by 10-14. So if I'm taking a -6.5, I'm loving them. -3.5. The Chiefs, I got to admit, that's the wrong number. I got a -4. I bought down a few points.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, that's my mistake.
It's fine. 6 or 7 can get tricky. So I've got the Chiefs down to -4. I think that's safe against this awful Eagles team. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also -4, just like Green Bay. If I think they're going to win by 10-14, I love them at -4. And that can net you with just $100 wager, $1,660.
Yeah, that's my fault. I got so used to typing KC -7, it just got away from me. But yes, KC -4 for this. All right, so I know you think that your parlay is crazy. My odds are actually higher for mine. So I'll get into it. So
my goodness,
I know I went absolutely ham here. I will take the Titans money line, just because the receiver situation right now worries me. Depending on, they don't have any depth behind their top 2, so that's the only thing that concerns me there. I think they're going to win. I wasn't confident enough to take a -7. Buffalo money line, they're going to beat the Texans. That upped my odds by like 3 points, but whatever. Yeah. New York plus. I'm so heavy on the Giants this week, and it's gonna bite me in the ass so hard. I've done this 2 weeks this year. I've gone heavy on teams. Week 1 was Green Bay. That bit me in the ass pretty hard. So I'm in on the Giants this week. Plus 15. They can, come on. Give me, if you're going to lose, do it by less than 16. Just do that for me.
They can lose by 20, man.
I'm hoping not, obviously. KC minus 4.5. And then Detroit minus 1. Indianapolis money line. Tampa Bay money line rounds out to plus 1887. So
how many
$100,
teams is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness.
7-team parlay. Oh, hey, I had a 6-team hit this year, so I'm feeling okay. So
I just really want to know why the hell you included the Bills money line. Like, you could have, even if you wanted to buy an insane amount of points, what are they, 16.5-point favorites? Like,
they went up to 17 a day. I should have done that. You're right. You're exactly
9.
right. You're exactly right. I should have done that, huh? I didn't. Whoops. Anyway, 1887, $100 wager gets you almost $1,900. So I feel good about it just because I've had success with parlays this year. Like I think it was week 2, I had a 6-team hit. I don't know if I put it on this show because you're a teaser addict. I'm a parlay addict. So
yeah,
I do.
I will say, I think that here, if I got to point to a weak point, it's the Detroit game. We both like the Lions. Technically, I mean, look, anything.
But betting on the Lions is always risky.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Indy is where you're going to lose this. I think everything else could check out, and Indy could be where you lose this.
And if that bites me in the ass, I'll be equally as sad. But I was confident enough in the Colts. Hopefully they don't let me down. Really hoping they don't let me down. But yeah, I mean, anytime you do a parlay more than 3 or 4 legs, it's getting a little bit tricky. But
a little bit.
Yeah. So let's hop into our survivors before we get out of here. Here is your survivor.
Yeah. So this week you might be looking at this and saying, why would anyone pick the Bengals as their survivor team? I know this is a different looking team. Joey Burrow to Jamar Chase has been amazing to watch. But you've got the Bills playing the Houston Texans. I mean, they're favored by 16.5. They're not going to lose. You've got the Titans playing the Jets, another lock. Well, I'm saving the Titans for one of their games against Jacksonville or Houston. They have 4 matchups left with those 2 teams. I'm sure they'll probably find a way to go 3-1. I just hope I hit on one of the 3. Buffalo, they got 2 matchups with the Jets. The Week 17, or rather Week 18 one, is one I'll try to stay away from. But their midseason matchup with the Jets, lock it in. So I'm trying to save them for their divisional opponents. But the Cincinnati Bengals against the Jaguars this week, it seemed to be the 3rd best option for me here. I don't see Joe Burrow and company losing this one. I think this is a team that really is trying to make a wild card push. They've got the talent on both sides of the ball. That's the biggest thing here, is that their defense is really making a huge step forward. So, minus 7.5 could be tricky. We saw Jacksonville jump out to what looked like a commanding lead against Arizona early in the 3rd quarter last week. Then they squandered it. Look for them to, if they're able to put some points up early, squander that as well. Give me the Bengals at home to win.
All right. And then mine, you touched on it already. Buffalo over Houston. This is the easiest game the Bills are going to have for the rest of the year. So I will take them to beat the Texans. If Tyrod Taylor were playing in this game, I would stay away from it. Like, I would still think that they would win, but Tyrod obviously gives them a much better shot than Davis Mills does. So yeah, Buffalo over Houston. They're 17-point favorites. If they don't win, and if you bet on Houston and they don't, you're gonna be cashing in. So yeah, Buffalo over Houston just feels like a good one to me. Easy one to use. Still staying clean after the mulligan from week 1. So that's all I'm caring about.
There we go. I'm trying to go 4-0, and Jarrett's just trying to go 3-0. It was a breakfast ball. Shanked his first drive of the day. It's all right. We forget about it here.
Exactly. So
Jarrett, take us home.
So Joe, where can they find you on Twitter?
At the Joe Serralo on Twitter, at Joe Serralo on Instagram.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at JBaileyNFL, Pittsburgh Sports Now, Fansided. Anything I write, you can find me there. Enjoy your weekend of football. As always, we got Jaguars Bengals in about 2 hours to kick off. It'll be a fun one. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, the rich history from the college football national championship. So it'll be a fun watch. I think Jacksonville does keep it closer, though. I mean, Bengals are without Jesse Bates, if I'm not mistaken. So that could open up Jacksonville's passing game a little bit. But no, it's going to be fun. I do like the Bengals tonight. It's one that I stayed away from in terms of betting just because I feel like it could go either way. So it'll be a fun night. It'll be a fun weekend. Good luck betting. If you're going to bet, do it responsibly. Please don't become a gambling addict.
A parlay addict.
or a parlay addict or a teaser addict or anything of that sort. So yes, bet responsibly. Enjoy your weekend of NFL football. We'll see you next week for week 5 to give you all the best bets that we can squander and help you make money. For Joe Serralo, Jarrett Bailey, Plays and Parlays. We'll see you next week.